This is The Power Cosmic, our comic book podcast about anything we want to talk about. I'm your host, Alex, and my co-host, Skylar, could not be here to record this intro. We are recording it in post, in fact. This first episode needed to be split up into two parts because we recorded far too much audio, so if at the end of the episode it sounds like it cuts off really quick, that's because there is a part two. Thanks, and enjoy the rest of the episode. This episode, we will be talking about first appearances.
This is our first appearance.
Yeah, for our first appearance. So, we're talking about a lot of famous heroes' first appearance, and we're going to start with stuff from DC Comics, or what is today DC Comics.
Yeah, and then move on to Timely and Marvel Comics. Same thing.
Yeah, and so we're going to start with turning up the volume slightly.
Okay.
We're going to start with Action Comics number 1, the first appearance of Superman. Very famous comic, adapted many times, but
Very different in the first appearance, but not bad. Not bad.
Yeah,
Pretty good.
It is pretty different, though. It's even just from the initial look at the art, it looks way different than modern comics, and
Yeah, much... I don't know how to describe it even.
yeah, it's
The
just
costume's
totally
very
different.
different.
The costume is very different, and I don't know if that exact style of the costume ever appears again.
Yeah, no, it's...
I think by his second appearance, they might have changed. I'm not sure exactly when they changed it, but very early on they started changing it.
Yeah, it definitely more looks like something that only exists in print.
Yeah,
Could only
and-
exist as a costume in print. Just the shield.
Yeah. Obviously, we were reading a digital... I read a digital version. I don't know if you have.
I don't know. I was reading digital.
Obviously, if one of us had an original copy, we'd be millionaires.
Yeah. I would not be working.
Yeah, that's for sure. But I was really interested because right away it recaps... I think it recaps his origin, but more than that, it right away gets into what his power set is.
Yeah, and it is a very different origin. It's not the, Grant Morrison, I believe, Doomed Planet, Desperate Scientists.
They really kind of skim over it.
Yeah, Krypton, not mentioned by name, just a doomed planet. And something that I liked is this implication that Krypton is essentially just an advanced version of Earth, and that essentially Superman is the end goal of, or like at least
Yeah.
a point in humanity's future. Like he's an ideal to strive towards.
Yeah, they never mention a yellow sun giving him his powers or anything like
Yeah,
that.
this is just how advanced they are.
Yeah, it is just they talk about how it's like Earth, but thousands of years of more evolution.
Yeah, and what's interesting is once he gets to Earth, it is still also very different. I know that in a lot of like Superman stories where they're trying to be realistic, the idea is that Ma and Pa can't find him, and like they find him and raise him in secrecy so the government doesn't, take him because he would be of interest to them. That's not really thought about. The Rocket's just found and he's brought to an orphanage.
Yeah.
What's also interesting is somehow he doesn't know that he's an alien until much later.
True, but this is different than some interpretations I know. Most of like the movies and stuff that I've seen and modern retellings of this show him that he is like a young adult before he gets his powers. That's often how they show it.
Yeah,
in
they
this
have a
one, they
panel of-
show him as a baby lifting up like a lazy boy.
Yeah, as like scientists look confused, like no need to look into this further. We can just throw this baby into.
Yeah, and they quickly go into his power set, which is not at all what we know of today.
Yeah, it's
Now-
the more basic. I mean, faster than a speeding locomotive,
Exactly, it's just that. It's that
able to leap tall buildings in a single bound. He can't fly.
he can't fly.
He just jumps real good.
Doesn't have laser eyes.
Yeah, it's largely before they started throwing powers onto him.
He's just...
For all intents and purposes, he's basically Luke Cage
Yeah, he's just super buff,
in
pretty
terms
much.
of powers. Just invulnerable, super buff.
He jumps really high. That's...
Yeah. I mean, Luke Cage probably could.
I don't know. I think of more the Hulk being a jumpy hero, but...
Yeah, I guess.
But whatever. It doesn't matter. It, like, in this case, it's like he almost flies, but it's just leaping really far.
Yeah, he can also. I mean, he's got good balance. He can run on a. At one point, he's just running on a power line.
Yeah, but it's all physical feats,
Yeah, it's.
and it's all like just like amazing things a human could do if they were more than human. That doesn't make sense, but
Yeah,
I think you get what I'm saying.
I get what you mean. Yeah, no, and his powers aren't sun-based. Very
Yeah.
interesting. No weakness. But one thing I also really enjoyed that they introduced very early on is he's not, truth, justice, and the American way. He's introduced as Superman, like champion of the oppressed.
Yeah, I thought that was really interesting about this comic. I thought that this comic had, I don't want to call them political themes. I don't think they were especially political, but
Just social justice.
yeah, I think that some people today might, if they appeared in a Superman comic, which they somewhat do, but I feel like if they appeared as blatantly as they do today, some people would complain about them.
And people have complained because they've removed, like, the American way from the Truth and Justice, I believe.
I know that for the new
Yeah, I
Superman,
think it's
Son of
Truth,
Kal-El.
Justice, and a Better Tomorrow, isn't it?
Yeah, that's for the new Superman Son of Kal-El comic. That's what they're saying. But yeah, in this first issue, I
He
think
does a few. They're like multiple different stories, but like I can
think
just
the-
run over them quickly. Like
Yeah.
he proves the innocence of a woman who is to be murdered at midnight, or not murdered, but executed by electric chair at midnight. He beats the absolute crap out of a wife beater, and
Yeah, that's a great.
yeah, that's great.
That's a
like,
great story.
oh man, what a great start to Superman. Just that, he sees someone, beating their wife and is just like, how you like it now, as he throws him through multiple walls.
Yeah, and the last story I really thought was interesting. That one, he like
Yeah.
he's working at the Daily Star, not the Daily Planet.
Yeah,
I don't know when
yeah.
they renamed that.
Yeah, that was very odd.
I don't know why they renamed that either. I like the Daily Planet better, but I think only because I've been hearing it.
I mean,
for
Daily
decades.
Star is such a generic newspaper name. That's actually the name of my hometown newspaper.
Oh, okay. Well, Metropolis is kind of a generic city.
Yeah, it very much is.
But that last one, he uses his like Clark Kent identity to
To help with his Superman identity. And
Yeah.
Yeah, no, like, I like that this is a story where the origin changes so much with, how he's introduced, but, like, the ethos, logos, pathos is all there. Like, he's still very much the same Superman. Like,
yeah
he becomes a bit more corporate, as, like, we enter the more American
yeah I
alien, but he's still, like, Blue Boy Scout, very much
Yeah.
so.
well to quickly go back to that last story, he uses Clark Kent identity to like get into, I think it's the Capitol building or something.
Yeah, or
I
the
don't
UN.
remember, but he basically uses his does he have super hearing? I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember
But he
either.
witnesses a senator,
Corrupt
congressman,
senator.
whatever, a corrupt lawmaker, like making a deal with this like shady guy, and then proceeds to like at night he becomes Superman and goes finds the senator and like flies him. Or he doesn't fly, but he grabs him and like leaps all over DC with him.
Yeah,
to
just, like-
scare the shit out of him.
Yeah, just making this guy terrified, like a Batman interrogation scene,
Yeah,
basically. Like, and it's great. He's, like not blindly, like, but he's just blindly patriotic. But he's just like, the greater good. It's great.
Yeah, I also read Captain America #1 during this time, and that one felt really, really like propaganda.
Yeah.
But I was surprised that this Superman comic, which typically we think of him as super red, white, and blue American hero, not really so, other than just an American and a hero.
Yeah. I also, I love that the cover, the famous one that everybody's like, what's that about? Where he's smashing the car. That's in the comic.
Yeah,
That's great.
that is. I don't remember the context. Do you?
Yes, and this also ties into another point I wanted to make. I love how they introduce Lois. Like, she's actually more like she is today than, like, the Superman's girlfriend era, where she's, just the damsel in distress. Like, sure, she is kind of a damsel in distress, but she's also, like, very strong-willed, and willing to just tell Clark, like, oh my gosh, you are, like, I'll go on a date with you, but as soon as he's, being a pushover, she's like, no, I'm not with it. Like, back me up here.
Yeah. Yeah, and then he is, like, that, I did want to, I think I wrote something in my notes about that, but it does have that super classic, like, meek, mild-mannered Clark Kent, like, going on a date with Lois Lane, and then she's like, Clark, you're too much of a pushover.
Because, like, she's getting harassed by, like, mobsters, and basically he does nothing about it. Yeah. And it's like, this isn't, like, her being unreasonable. This is, like, very reasonable that he doesn't stand up for her.
Yeah. And then, like, she leaves, and the creepy guys keep following her, and then, of course, Superman appears and saves her.
Yeah.
And I thought that was, that's, like, a super classic
Superman
thing. But, yeah, you're right.
She even, like, works towards saving herself. I might be wrong in my memory.
No, I think she does.
Yeah, she's like, wait. She definitely had a devolution at some point.
Yeah, I definitely felt this
it was being told
had like a stronger depiction of women than a lot of sort of like the following era of Superman, where it's like, well, a lot
romance,
of comics,
Superman, I'll trap him into marrying me.
Yeah,
no, this is not that Lois. Like,
nor is it the Lois Lane who turns black for an issue.
Oh no, okay,
which we could talk about another time.
Yeah, just regrettable issues.
Yeah, but sort of the following era is really a weird time for comics in general, where a lot of them turned into that sort of, I don't know, sanitized and serialized.
Yeah, he's definitely much more like, just the product of people who are frustrated in injustices in society. And he doesn't really even face Superman, like, supervillains. He's just up against, like, things that the common American dislikes.
Yeah, I really feel that, like, it's clear in this comic that it was, like, written... Like, you can really see the authors in this. This felt like people who are really just fed up with certain parts of society, and they wrote a comic about what if a guy had...
Could come around and have the power to change some things around here.
Just like a single guy could instantly change them because he was powerful.
Yeah, no, and it's genuinely good. Like, I enjoyed it.
All right, do you want to move on to Detective Comics, number 27? Another famous issue. This is the first appearance of Batman. Another one widely different than the modern interpretation.
Oh, very, very. And it's just, looking at it after, like, 80 years, with Batman being a household name, it's very interesting, because I think this was probably the gimmick with Detective Comics, that there's a mystery each issue.
Yeah.
And this issue, the mystery is, what is the identity of the Batman?
It's not the only mystery, though. There is, like, a crime going on.
Oh, yeah, but, like, it's just so interesting to see, like, who is the identity of Batman played as, like, a mystery for the reader.
Yeah, it's so different since Batman has become... And Batman and Bruce Wayne, specifically, have become such famous characters.
Yeah.
To see it played as if we don't know that this Bruce Wayne character who appears occasionally and is like a total airhead, pretty much.
He's just like Commissioner Gordon's friend. They'll just smoke together and talk about stuff. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, it is weird.
He just, like, 90% of Bruce Wayne's dialogue is just repeated ho-hum. Ho-hum, he repeats a lot. Yeah. I'm such a bored young socialite. And I'm like, why didn't this catch on as a catchphrase? Like...
Yeah, I wanted to talk about how weird Commissioner Gordon and Bruce Wayne's relationship is.
Yeah.
Because, like, whatever. I can buy that they're friends and they like to smoke together and they have strange and interesting lives.
And I actually looked this up because when did Batman stop smoking? Because you think about how he's the peak of physical ability and you think about, okay, smoking probably doesn't help with that. He smokes in the comics until 1973.
That's much later than I would think.
Yeah, 40 years later. Like, well after it was known that it caused cancer, too.
Interesting.
Yeah, and that is in Brave and the Bold 105 is the last time we see him smoke, I believe.
That's interesting. I didn't think to look anything like that up.
That's I was so curious. Because, like, I have a bit of a thing with Batman being a bit of a Mary Sue. I don't hate Batman as a character, love Batman, but he's kind of a Mary Sue at times.
Oh,
I like
especially
it when he can, fail. Like,
Oh, yeah.
when he's vulnerable and can fail. But, it doesn't really lean into the peak physical thing, which I don't think is, like, even brought up with him. He's just somebody who dresses up as a bad.
Yeah, not really. Not in this issue.
There's no origin for him at all. He just is a character.
Not at all. Yeah. But like I said, this Gordon and Bruce Wayne relationship is wild. Because Commissioner, I think he's Commissioner at this point.
Yeah, Commissioner Gordon also looks so much older.
Yeah, this was I don't think they nailed a Commissioner Gordon look for a long time. Not as bad as Alfred, though.
Alfred isn't in this at all.
I know, but Alfred for a long time was sort of a weird character that came in occasionally.
Yeah, I heard he was
all the time.
like a detective trying to solve the cases as Robin and Batman try to do the same. He wasn't like privy that they were Batman and Robin.
Interesting.
He was just kind of a bumbling oaf.
Yeah, well, in this issue, early on, he just lets Bruce Wayne in on like a ton.
Yeah, he lets him just stick around for this big high-profile murder case. Also, when he greets the victim, he basically says what amounts to, "Hello, Lambert, do any patricide lately?"
Yeah, it's weird. Like the mystery is kind of fun, and I dig it being this sort of like investigation, crime, mystery-oriented comic.
Yeah,
but
which I want more from Batman comics, and I'm hoping the Batman will deliver on more of the mystery.
I do as well. But
also, is Chemical King the first Batman supervillain? I was curious about this. There's an offhanded mention of this guy called the Chemical King.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't take note of that.
Just I guess the first named Batman villain. I don't know. It's iffy. Don't quote me on it.
Okay.
Not a fun fact. Just musing.
Yeah, a lot of this is musing, because these comics are kind of weird, and very weird compared to today's standards.
Yeah, no, and this comic, like, as opposed to Action Comics, they really don't have a lot of the ethos, or I should stop saying it, like, just, you don't really get, like, Batman. He's just a character that shows up.
Yeah, and he does show up kind of weirdly. Like there's this mystery going on that Commissioner Gordon is trying to solve. It's some crime that people have been murdered. It's pretty shallow.
Yeah.
But something that can be solved in a single issue of a comic.
Yeah.
But then there's this Batman character who keeps showing up to stop these crimes and whatnot. And he shows up more and more through the issue.
Yeah, and you don't know who this is.
And Bruce Wayne shows up less and less somehow.
Yeah. Not the most of a head scratcher of a mystery, even if, you didn't know this household knowledge.
Yeah, I do feel like it would be a fun twist had I not ever read anything Batman before.
Yeah, I mean, it's very easily laid out, though, but I feel like also we've had a lot more mystery to read, and all the tropes are kind of there.
Yeah.
It's just interesting. Also, one thing that I noted that was weird is whenever there's dialogue on a phone, it's not like the electric speech bubbles. It's a thought bubble.
Oh, yeah, I
which
noticed
is
that
so
as well.
Confusing.
I did notice some classic Batman tropes in this, though. That would be that the villain just had some death traps on hand.
Oh, yeah, we need to talk about that death trap. At one point, this guy, he might have been the Chemical King, I wasn't quite sure, just had a vat, like a giant glass, dome that he could put down on top of this guy and poison him. And he's like, I've just been using this to kill, what was it?
I don't think I took note
of that.
Oh, yeah,
exactly. He just said he had this massive gas chamber, lowering down from the ceiling, glass that comes over someone and then fills with gas. And he's like, I've been using this to kill guinea pigs.
Yeah, this dude is nuts.
Yeah, no.
It's weird.
This guy is definitely a Batman villain, insane, over-elaborate death trap.
It's
weird
for no
how
reason. Quickly it gets into that, too. We have, a pretty regular seeming mystery, and then as soon as sort of we find out who this villain is and they get hot on his tail, he just starts pulling out the death traps. Weird...
early on it's, he murders people with,
I think he stabs them.
Yeah, knives, guns.
Whatever.
Yeah, no, and then he's and for you, I bring out the gas, the gas tube.
The gas globe.
Yeah.
It's weird.
The snow globe of poisonous gas.
Then, another classic Batman thing that we've seen before with a very famous character, at the end of or maybe not quite the end of the issue, But Batman fights the villain, and then and he just lets him fall into the vat of acid.
Yeah, I noted that, and I was like, man, he doesn't know any better yet.
Yeah, well,
it's a bad idea for Batman to let people drop into
First of all, I guess we should mention that Batman just kills people here.
Oh, yeah. I think that's pretty
I think he
well
only
known.
kills one person here, but yeah, in these early days, he'll kill people, and
no issue with killing people.
A lot of these issues that we read, I found that it was interesting that a lot of these early heroes did not have sort of today's, like, ooh, no killing tropes going on.
But this story, the way it goes, I almost thought we might get through his first appearance without him committing a murder, but no.
Nope. He doesn't carry around guns this time, but he does do that pretty soon after this, I think.
Yeah, one thing I also liked, the Batmobile is very different. It's just a red, normal car.
Yeah, true.
It's essentially the equivalent of...
It's just Bruce Wayne's car.
I'm pretty sure it's the 1937 equivalent of Batman driving around in just a Honda CR-V.
I would think it would be a little nicer than that, but yeah, it's not fancy.
It didn't look like a fancy car. And I'm like, could the police just run his plate numbers and figure out, oh, this is young socialite Bruce Wayne?
Yeah, there's a lot of sort of weird... Batman's sort of gadgety tricks were not present here.
Yeah, there are no gadgets.
It's just a guy in a weird suit.
Yeah, and at one point, the police are not friendly with Batman. At one point, Gordon is going to investigate a murder and gets immediately distracted by Batman on the roof, and just like an Arkham City goon, he's just like, "It's the Bat! Get him!"
Yeah. While we're on the subject of Batman being kind of weird in this comic, he... no offense to whoever did the art for this. Was that Bill Finger?
I was going to talk about that.
Batman looks kind of dumb.
Yeah, also I was sad. I wanted the purple gloves because I'm a big proponent of Batman with the purple gloves.
Yeah, I think those come soon. I think those do come soon. And I don't know what it looked like in print originally.
Yeah, also at one point I noticed when he grabs a knife that's, somebody's trying to stab him with, he has two right hands.
Oh, Bill Finger did the art for this, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, two
Nothing
right
against
hands.
him, but at this point in comics, it was... The art is not sophisticated in 1930s for these comics.
Yeah.
It had not been a refined art form, especially, these were being printed on bad paper with bad printers.
Yeah, very basic art.
And it was a rushed process, too.
Yeah.
But I don't think Bill Finger knows how to draw cape.
Yeah, the cape.
The cape is always doing something weird.
Yeah, not huge.
He does do like a glider cape thing at one point, doesn't he? Am I thinking about it later? Never mind.
It might be a later. I don't know.
But the cape looks dumb. It never looks like it's... Like, gravity doesn't affect it right.
Yeah.
It's always sort of sticking out in a weird way.
Yeah, it's just not great. The art is not the best.
I also thought it was interesting. Batman, at least for, like, the first 3/4 of the issue, hardly speaks.
Yeah, no, he really... he kind of moves along with the story. He's not really an active participant until later on.
Yeah. Later in the issue, towards the end, he does talk and is a little bit more active with the main plot, but...
Saving the guy from the over-elaborate death trap. I mean, that's, I guess, the staple from early on.
Yeah. I don't actually have that many notes for this issue. It was pretty simple.
Yeah, another thing that was interesting was Apex Chemicals is mentioned in this, and I'm surprised they came up with Ace Chemicals later on as kind of an important Batman location. I'm surprised they didn't just keep Apex.
Sort of same thing with... as Action Comics, weird that
they
have a generic name that they switch to something very similar later.
Yeah, agreed.
Then I think next we're going to talk about is All-Star Comics.
First appearance of Wonder Woman. Also some Justice Society stuff.
This was hard to get through.
I kind of enjoyed this one a bit.
Oh, really? It started off trying to read the whole issue.
Oh, I just noted with All-Star Comics, I'm just, with the Justice Society part, I should say, I hate the Dr. Fate helmet. Instead of, like, the really cool-looking one, it just cuts off at, like, his nose, so, like...
yeah,
he just looks like the Virgin meme.
There's
Virgin versus Chad, but he's the Virgin, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we're still in a weird era for comics art. It's not great yet. I don't know what to say about it other than, like, it's dated.
Yeah, and also, I don't know, I'll give some introduction to, because I just love to share this info about Wonder Woman.
Oh, are we going to talk about The author?
Yes.
He's an
Dr.
interesting
William,
man.
William
Dr.
Marston.
Yeah.
Dr. William Marston. Very interesting man. He wrote Wonder Woman to prepare society for the oncoming matriarchy that he believed was at most 15 years off. Had a lot of faith in the people of the 40s that this would be happening soon.
He drank a lot of the Respect Women juice.
Yeah, he was big on the Respect Women juice. And fun fact, Wonder Woman, he and his wife were in a polyamorous relationship with another woman. That woman was the basis for Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
So she's based off of his wife's girlfriend.
Yeah, and another interesting fact, Dr. Marston created... I don't think he quite created the modern polygraph, but he created like a prototype for it. Or something.
Based off
I'm
of
not super certain about his
the Lasso of
scientific
Truth, which doesn't
history.
show up here.
Yeah, but famously Wonder Woman uses the Lasso of Truth, which was basically his like dream for like a polygraph test that he made.
Something that doesn't
later.
work and is kind of a disaster for...
Yeah. It hasn't been improved upon partly
Yeah.
since he made it, but
You know, not great, but interesting part of his history that I do like as well. That he has other, things that he's known for, which you would not think of.
Well, before we really get into the Wonder Woman bit, I do have a couple things to say about the rest of the comic, because Wonder Woman is the final story in this comic, I believe. Yeah, her introduction is the final story in this comic. This is a long comic. It is 68 pages.
Yeah.
We do not usually have comics that long today. I think
special
commonly comics are 22 pages?
Yeah, something like that.
Around that, at least.
22 to 32, I think.
Yeah, and I think it depends on, like, how special or important the comic is.
Yeah.
We got, like, 100 pages for Detective Comics number 1000 or whatever, but it's not even the numbering's way off there, but a special issue can have longer things, but 68 pages is way out of the ordinary nowadays.
Yeah.
But this was... So All-Star Comics was basically the Justice Society comic?
Yeah.
Later they did have a Justice Society comic. But this is really, from what I read, I do believe I ended up skipping ahead, though I read a lot of the Justice Society stories.
I didn't bother.
No problem there. It was rough. They really... I kind of have a weird love for the JSA, just because...
I'm not too big.
I'm not that actually big, but I think they're fun as a concept, sort of this... I don't know, like the original superhero team, basically.
Yeah.
It really felt like the opposite of what we think of and see in team-up comics today. And this comic really felt like it was meant to sell more comics. You would have like an arc, like, so the issue begins with the JSA meeting up, talking about some issues, and then every hero goes out on their own.
Which is a theme coming up.
Yeah, so like,
in
whatever.
A later comic.
We start with like Dr. Midnight and whatever, and a lot of these heroes are kind of generic. I'm not going to talk about them too much. But at the end of every single hero's, like, bit that they have in the comic, it has this little message like, oh, if you like Dr. Midnight, go read whatever, Dr. Midnight comics. And so it really felt like this had, like, this weird sort of tone to it where, like, you finished up a story arc and that they immediately promoted that hero's comics. And so I'm like, wow, this is sort of a weird way of doing things that I guess is still sort of done, but it's more subtle than that.
Yeah. And the characters usually don't split up nearly as much as they did in these old team-up books.
Yeah,
by DC, at least.
It felt like the opposite of a team-up. Like, nowadays I think of, like, say, if I'm reading Justice League or whatever, I think, like, okay, there's Batman, he's got his own stuff going on in his book. There's Superman, he's got his own stuff going on in his book. And usually when we get to the Justice League, they are working together.
Yeah, and it will usually be, like, just a pairing of a few of them that you'll focus on for, like, an issue. And then,
true.
Different groupings.
True, but
That's rarely... how you tell a story like that.
Rarely do we get this sort of, like, halfway anthology book.
Yeah.
It's a really weird combination of these stories intersect and don't intersect at the same time.
Yeah, agreed.
So, finally, after all the other stories, like every member gets a story, that's why it's 68 pages, we finally get to Wonder Woman, who is not a member of the JSA yet. We just throw her on at the end, I guess.
Yeah.
I think she gets introduced as part of the team later.
Yeah, and there is a whole thing where when she gets introduced as part of the team, it's as their secretary, which...
Oh, really?
It's a mix of problematic and not problematic. And hear me out on this. It's not, like, necessarily entirely, she's a woman, she can't be part of the team. It's more for creator control, so that the Justice Society book can't take her in a different path from her creator.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's more so that she can, they can promote her without, like... without him having to worry about her being radically changed outside of his book.
That is interesting.
Which would be an issue later on. Yeah. Because, I guess just jumping right into it, they do set up who Wonder Woman is very early on. Like, you know, her, like, who she is as a person. And it's weird, because it's so concrete that they set her up as, like, this icon of compassion. And then... for like decades, people have no idea what her deal is or what to do with her.
Yeah,
at DC.
This is really much more like, I think, of modern interpretations of Wonder Woman.
Yeah, no, because like she gets very muddled. Like, there's this whole thing where people are like, "Oh, she doesn't have a no-kill rule," but like, I mean, yeah, but it's like if there is any other solution.
Yeah, it's interesting. I like, especially compared to how we saw Batman and Superman. Now, Superman still had a lot of the core things the same, but Batman quite different. This one is...
There are, like, core ideas set out, unlike with Batman, but they just kind of get ignored.
Yeah.
For decades.
This one seems a lot, and I guess, like we said, because the author drank all the Respect Women juice, that this is quite feminist, and she's quite powerful, and it's quite similar to how we see her today. And it was not until later that nobody knew what to do with her character.
Yeah. Also, it's fun. Just jumping into how they introduce her, usually you think of Themyscira. It doesn't exist. She comes from Paradise Island. And right before they say she comes from Paradise Island, they say, "We have no idea where Wonder Woman comes from." Setting, Paradise Island.
Yeah.
Like, next sentence, they immediately contradict themselves, which was just a little bit of fun.
Yeah, I did see that. I remember noticing that as well. It's like, nobody knows where she's from, except we do, right here.
Yeah. Not a mystery.
This one is similar to the sort of Wonder Woman origin we know, where...
Yeah. Not in the movie, but, basically for the movie, just replace World War I with World War II.
Yeah. It's...
Probably just because there are so many World War II movies now that you don't really... It's a bit more interesting to do World War I.
Yeah, it's pretty similar. There's a lot of sort of like Paradise Island moments, because they never leave Themyscira, Paradise Island, whatever. It's all set on there, I think.
Yeah,
maybe she leaves at the end.
No, there's a flashback at one point that takes up most of the issue.
Okay, true.
That's like, here's what happened with Steve Trevor. He got knocked out by some Nazis and was placed in a robotic plane to bomb the island.
Yeah, there was some weird stuff going on with that.
Or not bomb the island, but bomb a American factory. However, the Nazis did not account for. They put him in there, I guess, as a fall man, but then he just wakes up and takes control of it. And they're like, no, how could we have known that he would wake up and then be able to control the plane where we just left the controls there for him?
Yeah, the bad guys were really dumb here.
Yeah, and then he just trails them and ends up on Paradise Island.
Yeah,
crashes,
runs out of fuel or something.
Wonder Woman finds him. No purple healing ray this time, which was interesting. That is such a concept, like, comic booky concept, that I kind of expected it to be early on.
I don't think I'm familiar with the purple healing ray.
Purple healing, it's just self-explanatory. There's nothing else to it. It's just the purple ray.
Okay. I don't think I knew that one.
It just shows up occasionally.
Yeah. Weird comic book stuff.
Yeah.
One note I did have about this issue. There's so much text on the page.
Oh yeah, at one point, they also, aside from this flashback, they delve deep into the history of the Amazons, which was actually kind of interesting. It was like very mythology.
Yeah.
Very much a mythology of its own.
Yeah.
That just goes into a lot of stuff, like the Amazons all wear the... what are they,
bracelets?
bracelets?
Yeah.
Yeah, to represent their history as slaves that they were freed from. And the dress, it's all very BDSM. It is.
Oh, it is.
Incredibly weird. Like
it is. It's got some weird tones.
Yeah, and I mean that's also going into the creator's beliefs that like
there's a lot of the creator in this comic.
Yeah, his whole polyamorous BDSM relationship where he believed that women tying up women was healthy and part of any good
that's
nutritional breakfast.
Yeah. Well, I'll let him believe what he wants. That's his personal life. A lot of it makes its way into this comic, though, and so it's become kind of iconic Wonder Woman stuff.
Yeah,
but it does have it's sort of a weird sexual beginning.
Oh yeah, deeply. Also, fun fact I forgot to mention during the Nazi flashback is that one of the Nazis has both a Hitler stash and what appears to be a Nazi tie. Just like, yep, really being subtle.
Yeah. These comics are not subtle. None of them are. But so we were talking about the bracelets. Towards the end of the issue, there's sort of this, like, competition, like an Amazonian competition, which actually, if you've seen Wonder Woman 1984, it kind of reminds me of the opening sequence of that movie.
Interesting. Yeah, no, this whole competition, and Diana is forbid to enter it.
Yeah, because she's
by
like
her mother. So
she's
she
like
just
the
wears
princess, basically.
Yeah, so she just wears like the thinnest domino mask, and this small island where presumably everybody knows each other,
especially somebody famous like her.
Yeah,
and her mother is the judge.
Yes, and nobody notices like, oh, odd that we have this unknown contestant who looks a lot like the princess. That we've never seen before on this island. Must be nothing.
Yeah. Well, this contest, basically, whoever wins gets to become Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
There's, like, not a... Like, this does not have, like, a plot where Wonder Woman is, like, predetermined to be
It's also interesting because Wonder Woman appears to be, like, this passed-down title, and I'm surprised that more comics haven't done something with that. It's almost like, I guess, the mantle of Ghost Rider or Iron Fist, where it's something that just gets passed down.
Yeah, like, she wins the armor...
Yeah, becomes
in the end.
Wonder Woman.
And then gets to go out in the world and
that's where the story ends.
Steve Trevor, basically. She just escorts him to America, I guess. It ends pretty much there. But my favorite part of this contest, out of the blue, part of the contest is bullets and bracelets.
Yeah.
Where the Amazonians just pull out some guns.
Yeah, that surprised me.
Which I didn't think they had guns.
Yeah, no, you think of Amazons and you're like, swords, bows. No, they just pull out Glocks.
Yeah, they have like a revolver or something.
Yeah, no, and just start shooting at each other, and it's like, this is something.
Like, I always sort of thought that the, like, Wonder Woman blocking bullets with her bracelets, awesome imagery, cool, love it. I always thought it was some more sort of, like, specifically Wonder Woman ability.
Yeah, no.
No, this is, like in this comic, Wonder Woman is not really any different than any of the other Amazons.
Interesting is that the Amazons, as well, are kind of portrayed as, like, a future for the human race.
Yeah.
Like very advanced is, I think, how they were described.
Yeah. But they're all distinctly human. They're all just, like, trained to perfection, pretty much.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, Wonder Woman does not have any difference. Like, I know that some modern comics say she's like a demigod or whatever. I think the movie she was created,
still sculpted out of clay, right? That was an element here.
I don't know if they talked about the sculpted out of clay in this issue.
It might have been during the Deep lore dump, which I did actually enjoy. I was a fan of the Deep lore dump. I liked it. I liked the Deep lore.
I will admit that in this case my eyes glossed over for some of the text. There was like a page that was like 99% text.
Yeah, just not even relevant to the story, just deep Amazon lore. They also have like a computer, or no, not a computer, a device that shows them the near future. That's an orb. And you're like expecting it to be a crystal ball. It just looks like a computer.
Yeah, there's some weird stuff in this, but it's all pretty similar to how we think of her today. It just sort of some very comic booky things going on.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's not powered by any, like, extra magic reason.
Mm-hmm.
She's just good. She's just, like, the best, most fit.
Yeah, and I think that would,
most skilled.
Change. But I think also there are things that give her the powers. I don't know.
Like, they do go into it a little, but it's not like she's... They don't specify, like I said, in the modern comics, she, I think, is a demigod, which I think is interesting, and makes a good plot. I enjoyed the comics where they talked about that. But that's not really the reason she is.
Yeah.
She's just, like, more trained, mostly.
Yeah, pretty much. Shall we move on?
Yeah, okay, so next up we have... Right. Brave and the Bold, number...
Yeah,
Let's
first
see.
appearance of the Justice League,
Yeah,
and
Brave and the
Starro the Conqueror.
Number 28, first appearance of the Justice League. This one actually has some good art. This one is
Oh yeah, no,
more
that was
modern.
that was my first note too. I like the art a lot.
Yeah, this one's much more modern than the ones we were just talking about. The ones we were just talking about are like late 30s. No,
Yeah, this
some
is
of them
like
are even before that.
This is Silver Age DC, right?
Yeah, this is a little while after this. This is maybe 20 years or so in the future. I
Yeah.
should have written the dates down. I should have written more info about these comics down, but I didn't.
Yeah, I think it is Silver Age. Like, you know, you have the classic not classic Green Lantern, but, you know,
Hal
what we
Jordan.
know of
Yeah.
how, like, Green Lantern and the Flash, they're not, you know,
Yeah,
the weird
Hal
magic
Jordan's
guy.
Green Lantern, Barry Allen's Flash, Bruce Wayne's Batman. Obviously, he's almost always Batman. He does.
Doesn't really show up much in this, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Batman
he-
and Superman don't show up.
Which, you know, that's
They
all
do
right with me.
I mean, like they do, but they're basically like, no, we're too good and busy.
Yeah, this is also another story where, you know, let's split up, gang.
Yeah,
They
this
do
one
pair
was
up the
more-
heroes more.
Yeah, this one is more team up though. I thought it was weird and interesting. This is, as far as I can tell, the first appearance of the Justice League.
Mhm.
Like, this is what my research shows is the first appearance of the Justice League.
It very much is set up like they've existed beforehand. And
Yeah, there
this
is no origin for the Justice League.
Yeah, this
I
isn't
don't
like, you know, Starro shows up and all of the heroes are forced to come together. They're
No, they've
just
got a hideout and
ready,
everything.
and Starro shows up, and they're like, okay, gang, let's go beat up Starro.
Yeah, they can all communicate. I don't know, like, when canonically... Well, obviously, this is all sort of... DC loves to go back and make things not modern canon, so...
Yeah, also no Watchtower. They're just in, I think, Happy Harbor.
I think they're in Happy Harbor, yeah.
Which,
I think
if
Young
you
Justice...
watch Young Justice, yeah, they reference that as
Yeah,
like
they're in
the
the
original Justice League base.
It's the hideout, yeah.
Yeah, which I like.
Aquaman, right away, talks to fish.
Yeah.
Not that that's very important to the plot, I just wrote that down because it was funny.
Yeah, one thing I noted, I dig that Wonder Woman gets to do a lot of stuff. Also, Martian Manhunter is pretty overpowered. They don't really even need Superman.
Oh, yeah.
He's able to put out flames with Superman-style super breath, which is just, for Martian Manhunter, that's a little too powerful.
That's funny because they if you don't know Martian Manhunter's weakness is fire.
Yeah.
So,
Lit match near him, and he's, like, you know, crumpled down, like, oh.
yeah,
Which
he's
I think
got
is
like
also psychological.
yeah, he has
they've
a
explained.
terrible fear of fire.
Which,
and-
justified if you know his history.
Yeah, and he is highly damaged by fire, as are we.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's got a horrible fear of fire as well. That does not show up here, and like he has no weakness. Basically, he just puts out the fire.
Yeah, he just goes, whoosh,
Yeah,
and it's put out.
yeah, he's totally just Superman, but he can shapeshift.
Yeah.
Does he shapeshift in this comic at all, though?
Don't think it gets used at all. I think they're just
Yeah, he's
focusing.
pretty much Superman here.
Also, not
Green
sure
Superman.
if this is his first appearance when Martian Manhunter first shows up.
I would have to look that up. I really don't know.
I'm just going off of New Frontier.
New Frontier's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, the world's finest there. Batman and Superman are just straight up too busy,
Yeah, to deal with this, you know, mind-controlling
which is kind of wild.
giant starfish conqueror. Yeah, they're, like, much too important to deal with this.
Yeah. Batman especially, like, seems weirdly kind of like, why are you calling me? I'm busy.
Yeah. One thing I also loved is that, you know, everybody gets a pair up except for the Flash. And, like, I feel weird about that because the Flash is very powerful, you know. Like, that is an OP ability to be able to, like, move and think at super speed.
The Flash...
But also, it's a kaiju that he's fighting.
Yeah, the Flash gets a lot of this comic. I felt like he was a little bit more prominent than some of the other stories as well.
And his partner
I
for
was
the
about to
team
say,
up,
we have to talk about his partner.
Snapper Carr.
Snapper Carr.
If you're familiar with Rick Jones from The Hulk, He's just somehow a worse version of Rick Jones.
It's Rick Jones, but worse.
Yeah, which is not a sentence I think could exist, but, like, he is just, the teen sidekick of the group.
Yeah, he just... It's weird, because, like...
He doesn't have any powers. He also talks in, like, deep 60s lingo.
Oh, he's so dated.
You said it feels like a modern comic, and I'm like, snapper.
Okay,
snapper.
The art feels like a modern comic. I will go back on what I said. The art and storytelling feel more modern. But Snapper Carr, this character who takes up maybe the back corner of the comic...
from him? Yeah, they really like to mention how important Snapper Carr is.
He's only important because they figure out how to beat Starro because of him. Starro cannot mind control Snapper Carr, and he's the only person Starro can mind
Which is, there's a great reason for that. Because he'd just been working in the yard with Lime. I'm assuming snapping the whole way, because Snapper Carr snaps a lot, and he says, I snap because I dig it, Flash.
Whew, yeah, there's a lot of lingo.
Yeah, he would instantly date, like, he is one of those characters where you instantly date a story by having someone talk like them. Like, he is not anything other than a product of his time.
He almost feels like he might have been dated when this comic came out.
Oh, yeah, he very much feels like a hello, fellow kids. Like, I feel like that's how people at the time would have viewed him, as a hello, fellow kids character.
Yeah, and he's really just there for Flash to figure out how to beat Starro, and for Flash to have someone to talk to.
Also, what's really fun is, even with this, Flash thinks to himself, he's like, in my disguise as Barry Allen, police scientist, like, do you introduce yourself in your thoughts, Flash? Like, introduce yourself and what your deal is?
Yeah. Well, that's a thing that'll last for decades longer, sort of a self-explanatory, like the need to explain characters' powers and their identities also in, like, every issue.
Yeah,
I can talk a lot about some X-Men comics that I do enjoy that have that very problem.
Yeah, I'm glad that comics have moved away from that very much.
Yeah, I get that you want to have every issue available to be picked up by someone new and reading it, but we're talking about a medium here where you get the imagery on the page.
Yeah.
So, if we don't know the Flash runs real fast, we can see that the Flash runs real fast.
Yeah, and I get that he's like, oh, how could he figure it out? It's, I need to explain he's a police scientist. Just have him figure it out. We don't need him to introduce himself in thought.
It could be way more subtle. Just be like, hey, think back to my CSI lab. If I was back at work, I'd have the equipment to look at this or whatever.
Yeah, but also we're giving notes to a old comic. But anyways, yeah.
We're talking about pioneering comics
here. Basically, the way this is set up, and I should have explained this sooner, is that I think Starro splits into 3.
He does. Yes. Or no, Starro does not split into 3. Starro comes down from space and then gives his powers to 3 regular starfish.
Oh my god, I forgot.
And then I think Starro leaves.
Probably.
I don't think Starro himself appears. Starro is just like 3 separate starfish that are psychically connected and controlled by the big Starro? It's unclear.
It's very weird. There's also some fun stuff. At one point, Wonder Woman literally skis a building.
Yep.
That's being taken away by Starro. That was pretty hype. But yeah, basically, they team up into different groups and go off to deal with the various Starro clones.
Yeah.
And then all come back together to, minus Batman and Superman, to fight the
final Starro.
The final Starro, which has been mind-controlling people. I originally was thinking, like, man, they would be absolutely, like, screwed if Starro had mind control.
And then he does.
And he doesn't need to attach the starfish.
Yeah, the classic Starro thing is that he attaches, like, a little Starro to people's face.
Yeah, he just... people have seen the Suicide Squad, I think?
Yeah, I think so, and I think it's in the trailers anyways.
Yeah, no, but it's also, like, kind of an iconic thing, like the heroes with the starfish on their face with the single eye.
Yeah, that's how it traditionally, or maybe not traditionally,
doesn't need to do it here. Can just, like, command people that he has visual
except Snapper Carr.
Except Snapper Carr, because he was working with Lime in his garden.
Yeah. And that's explained later that's whatever. Starro's allergic to lime or whatever.
Yeah, also Flash, at one point, another hype feat is Flash literally splits the Red Sea to look for Starro, who's just hiding underwater. He just splits the sea, you know, probably devastating local wildlife populations.
Yeah, he should have had Aquaman come in there.
I'm assuming Aquaman got there and was just devastated. I'm assuming it was very awkward in the mountain after that.
Yeah. What? You dried out a fish?
Yeah, no, Happy Harbor, I'm assuming, just has no, like, sea life anymore.
Well, the Flash, I feel like the Flash kind of gets a little extra here, because...
Oh, yeah.
Because sort of like the Flash is the last of the, like, split-up heroes
and I believe
lines.
The writer of this, Gardner Fox, right, was also working on Flash. Didn't he write Flash of Two Worlds?
I did not take note of who the author was here,
but
if it is Gardner Fox, I believe he wrote some Flash of the
because
same
I believe
era.
this is the same person who wrote the Crisis on, you know, Earth 2, Earth 3.
Well, that would explain
series.
a lot to me, because this issue feels like it shows a little extra love to Flash.
Yeah, and I believe that's because it was the Flash writer
this
also
man
doing
is
this.
A Flash fan, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so
also at one point after getting, I'm sorry, I just need to share this.
No,
after getting mind wiped, someone says, "What happened?" And that was fun. That was fun.
I was gonna say, to go back to the Wonder Woman bit, this has a famously retro Wonder Woman thing, and I'm talking about Wonder Woman's invisible jet.
I love the invisible jet. Also, the robot plane lore deepens, because this is also a robot plane.
This does not... She never calls it the invisible jet, it just appears invisible. She calls it the robot plane.
Which was a big deal in the first issue of Wonder Woman, and I'm sure it's a coincidence, but it's weird.
Yeah, I'm not sure what a robot plane means. Does that mean she doesn't know how to fly a plane and it flies itself?
You're bringing up a good point that I didn't think of.
She just keeps calling it the robot plane.
Yeah, and she can control it while she's not in it. Busy skiing a fucking building.
I'm not sure what a robot plane is, but this plane is invisible. And I guess it has some autopilot or something.
Yeah, it's weird.
Can she fly in this comic?
Yes, I believe she does at a couple of points. I think...
I can't remember. I read so many.
Yeah, this inconclusive if Wonder Woman can fly.
Because the invisible jet kind of went away once they established Wonder Woman can fly.
Yeah, it's weird. I like the invisible jet, though.
Yeah, it's a fun classic thing for Wonder Woman.
Yeah. Also, they basically wrapping up the story. They defeat Starro by just pouring a ton of lime on him, like not lime juice, just
like
the powder.
Like
so he's just white.
They
give him white face, and he's defeated.
Yeah, he dries up.
Yeah, it's odd.
Yeah, it just kind of
they really try to scientifically explain it, and it's just like you are coating him in lime.
Oh yeah, that reminds me. Sorry to go back a little bit, but to Action Comics #1.
They try a lot of these early comics. They try really hard to scientifically explain everything.
Yeah, when they introduce Superman's powers and his origin about coming from another planet, they literally call it. It says the scientific explanation for his powers, and then they talk about how he came from a rocket from another planet, and that he's mortal.
Yeah, they love the scientific explanations in these early DC comics. It's
Snapper Car.
Snapper Car, they offer him a Justice League thing, and he starts snapping, and they're like, what? Just like, that means I dig it. And everybody's like, haha, Snapper.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Snapper Car ever appears again, and if he does, I don't think I'll read it.
Yeah, neither would I. I mean, Rick Jones still gets some love because he's just kind of an everyman that they can throw wherever, and Marvel mostly with Hulk. But
yeah, I like
Snapper's
Rick Jones.
Gone.
I can enjoy Rick Jones sometimes.
Yeah, but Snapper's gone. Snapper's nowhere to be found, and I don't care.
Yeah.
No crying shame.
Well, at least Snapper didn't suffer the fate of Rick Jones as in Immortal Hulk, but that's much later.
I'm trying to think. I'm wondering. I think somebody did write it might have been an Identity Crisis or something. I think somebody wrote some grimdark ending for Snapper Car.
Yeah. people love to come back to these, and then especially if somebody hates a character, they'll kill him off or something.
Yeah, in Batman versus Superman, hi, I'm Jimmy Olsen, and he gets shot in the head immediately. Couldn't you have done that to Snapper Carr instead?
Yeah, I love Jimmy Olsen.
Yeah, Jimmy Olsen's
Sad
great.
to see him go.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I could complain about Snapper Carr all day, but we ought to move on.